Basically you use this stone in exactly the same way as the previous ones. 8 strokes in one direction, 8 in the other, and then 8 alternating. The slurry from the stone can also be used to polish up the face of the blade. Just keep your fingers well away from the edge, obviously. This is a carbon steel blade. Carbon steel blade takes a beautiful edge, but it will stain and rust if allowed to, and it responds to nature. You can see this purple stain from the tannin in wood, and it's nice when you sharpen the knife like this just to polish that away. And this slurry is all you need just to do that. It doesn't take much work at all, it's dead easy. And there we go. You can see the kind of mirror edge that stone puts on the edge. In theory, if you've done the sharpening on the stones properly, you could avoid this next stage, but I always like to put it in just to make sure the knife is perfect. What I'm going to do is I'm going to strop the edge. And what that does is it removes any tiny, almost molecular thin pieces of metal which may be wobbling on the edge of the blade. And to do that, I'm going to use the inside of my belt, and I'm going to drag the knife so that the edge is coming the other way. It's not trying to cut the belt, it's going in the opposite direction. And I give it 50 strokes. I could leave the sharpening with the stropping as the last process, but whenever there's a vehicle available with the edge of a window like this, there's one last little tip that gives this edge, which is already like a razor, but it gives it a little bit more bite, which means that carving is safer. And that's just to use the edge of the window like a steel. And I just place the edge on there, tilt it, and very lightly, not even with the weight of the blade, run it across about 10 times. Now that is perfect. I can test it on the hairs of my arm. But maybe a better way to show you is with a piece of paper. Whenever I travel in wilderness, I always have my knife to hand, because with this tool I can make life possible. One of the things I've always taught is your knife is your life. With this I can make fire, shelter, find food, do all of the things I need with ease and simplicity. Without a cutting tool, life becomes very difficult. But there are a few things we need to know regarding safety. When I'm not using my knife, it stays safely in its sheath. That's the only place it should be when it's not in use. And I always know where my knife is. If I'm not carrying it on my person, I know where I've got it stored so that it can't fall into the hands of the idle-minded, or worse still, be lost. When I take the knife from the sheath, I do so with great care. Obviously it's a very sharp blade, and the first thing is to hold the sheath in such a way that I don't wrap my fingers around where the edge could cut through the leather by accident. And when I remove the blade, I do it in 2 stages. Firstly, I loosen the knife from the sheath, and secondly, I remove it slowly and with care. If I have to pass the knife to anybody else, which is rare because we don't very often lend a knife, it's the quickest way to lose a friend, is to lend them a knife and have the knife come back looking like the edge of a saw. But if I do have to pass my knife to somebody, I do so like this. I hold the knife with a forehand grip and then tilt it like so, so that the handle is towards them and the edge is up and away from me. That is the only safe way to pass the knife to somebody. The most important grip of all is the forehand grip, used like this. It's a very strong grip, and we use this for power cuts. The second grip is the backhand or reverse grip, where the blade is held with the edge towards us. We use this very rarely. It's used mainly for cutting string, where we want to ensure that the danger, the edge, is towards us, because we are the operator, we're the person holding the blade and have the greatest control. The next most important grip is the chest lever grip, with the edge pointing towards the knuckle of our hand and our thumb on the flat of the blade in support. This is a very useful and very powerful grip, which is used in a unique way. We take the blade across our chest so that the back of the blade is towards our chest, edge forwards, and now we can cut with great force but lots of control. A good way to show you how to use the knife is to make something that we have to do on a regular basis. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 2 tent pegs. We often have to make pegs. Maybe we arrive at a campsite and the ground is soft, too soft for the small pegs that came with our tent, or maybe we're just carrying a tarp and we decide that we want to peg to the ground. Either way, this is how we can go about it. I'm going to show you how to put a point on the stick with just a few easy cuts. To make the points, I'm using the forehand grip, which gives a lot of power. I can put my whole body behind the cut. I put a point on both ends of the stick, and what I'll do now is I'll use my knife to give me a measurement so I can find out roughly where the middle is, and now I'm going to cut through the middle of the stick to give a chamfered end that can be driven with an axe. Chest lever grip gives tremendous control combined with a lot of power, and because it's close to your eyes you can see very clearly what you're achieving. It's also a very safe grip because the knife doesn't fly all over the place. And now we can just snap that there and just trim off the top. There we go, 2 pegs ready to be driven into the ground.